Hello everyone and welcome back to round 11 of Season 2 of the F1 Manager McLaren Road to Glory. Yes, this weekend we reached the halfway stage of our second campaign. If you missed out on the video that went live earlier on in the week from the British Grand Prix, of course I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But there are some major news coming in to this weekend. We have got some new regulation changes proposed for Season 2, so we need to wait and see as to what the FIA are trying to cook then. So sporting changes ready for Season 3. As you know, we may change the regulations to define Formula 1's rules between seasons to make the sport fairer for competitions and more engaging for fans. We are proposing new sporting regulations for the 2024 season. An overhaul to the scoring system offers greater points overall and covers the top 10 finishing positions, so it's still the same amount of cars that are scoring points. So it looks like they want to go back to 2014 and bring in double points for the final race of the year. That actually would have worked out really well for us last season, but I don't think that's really what I want, to be completely honest, at the moment. Kind of just mixes things up a bit too much. So yeah, we're not going to be voting in favour of that. We've also got a development point to use on Lando Norris, so again we'll try and improve his defending as well there. But yeah, of course, heading into Austria this weekend, happy memories for us as a team. Of course, Oscar Piastri, now sacked. Oscar Piastri, of course, won this race last season for the organisation. Will Lando or Fernando be able to do that this weekend? Let's get into it and hopefully find out.
The battle is surely going to rage this weekend. Welcome to the Green Hills of Austria. The Red Bull Ring hosted its first Grand Prix in 2014, and it's been spectacular ever since. The Red Bull Ring is one hungry beast of a power track. Drivers face a steep climb up to turn 3 and a fast ride downhill through wide corners and straights thereafter. There's plenty of opportunity to overtake here, especially with the help of 3 DRS zones. The season is about halfway through, and it makes me wonder, what else is in store for the teams? Well, there's only one way to find out. The competition is on.
Well, here we are then, back at the Austrian GP venue, and only heavy rain this weekend. Every single weekend we seem to get heavy rain, but this time around it seems to only be in free practice, so that's not too much of a concern. Of course, we still, obviously, we're not getting sprint races inside F1 Manager 22. Will be a nice feature to hopefully see, though, on next year's game, which I think, now don't hold me to this because I'm recording this a little way in advance, I think we're going to be getting some news on that very, very soon. There's just a small part of me that is really believing. Quickly as well, just to mention, you want to get yourself subscribed with the notifications on tomorrow as well. There's going to be some very, very cool stuff dropping as well that I'm very, very excited to showcase as well to you all. So yeah, certainly a good time to be subscribed to the Back212 YouTube channel. I'm very much looking forward to the summer months ahead as well. But I'm also looking forward to getting out onto the Austrian GP circuit. So let's do that first of all. Right, well, both cars then heading straight out onto the circuit. We've got an AlphaTauri out joining them. Again, as always, just trying to make sure that both drivers are avoiding the curbs and all that kind of thing. But did forget to put the old gearbox in for Q1, so sorry, for FP1 even. So we're going to have to try and go through free practice 1 on the fairly new components. Hopefully, of course, get some good data. And then I'll remember for FP2 and FP3 to put them back on the older parts. In terms of track, though, free practice is going to be, or free practice 1 anyway, is going to be completely dry, so that is good for us. Of course, Austria, we all know just how close the times can be around this venue. Of course, the shortest in terms of lap time track in Formula 1 at the moment. I do wonder if at some point in the future they might opt to run the new MotoGP chicane. I feel like it might actually ruin the circuit, though, on second thoughts. But more and more cars then getting out onto the circuit. Lewis Hamilton now up fastest then ahead of Charles Leclerc. But again, you know, the likes of Gasly and Bottas, very, very fierce competitors there, always getting the most out of their midfield machinery. As someone's ran wide, that looked to be a Williams. It was Mick Schumacher then down at turn 1, who just had a little bit of a whoopsie. Valtteri Bottas apparently having a spin down at turn 4. Let's just see as he just tipped it in a bit too much. Yep, and he's gonna, I mean, he's very, very lucky that he's going to be able to get that back out of the gravel trap, because in real life he'd probably be beached in there. But yeah, I mean, all the cars out then onto the circuit inside the first 15 minutes, and 1.3 seconds covering absolutely everyone. And once more, Fernando Alonso not particularly happy with the car. I think Lando Norris isn't particularly either. Very bad by Fernando Alonso. Let's go back to the drawing board. Right, well, both cars then back out onto the track once again. I don't really know what I had thinking then, just on autopilot. We had Alonso on a high wing setup around Austria, which is rather brave. But yeah, I mean, still, I mean, last weekend, of course, the car was a lot better on the lower downforce circuit, so I definitely feel like we are able to navigate them a whole lot more than we used to. It really now is just whether we can get close to Mercedes even, I should say, and of course try and pull away from Alpine there, as I panicked for a second about Oscar Piastri, but of course he's not in my car anymore, so I don't care. Oh, and I might have jinxed myself by talking about Oscar Piastri then. Lando Norris, small spin then. Minor underfloor damage? You're having a giggle? He's went over a curb. How has he managed that? Hopefully we can get that repaired then later on. I'm guessing it's exactly the same incident as Bottas had earlier on, but yeah. Yeah, he's the reason why we've got yellow flags, but we're going to have to bring him in. Can we get that minor damage sorted? Underfloor. We have got a spare one. Not sure I really want to use it. Well, we'll save for now and see if we can repair it. Well, now, of course, with Lando Norris then all out of shape, means that we're on slightly different run programs with both of the cars, but Fernando Alonso back into the pit lane then, only quicker than Williams at the moment. But again, we've seen that many times so far this season. A yellow flag's out again. Is that one of those Williams that we were speaking of, or was it Esteban Ocon that just had a little bit of a whoopsie? 15 minutes left then of free practice. Feel like we've got Alonso set up pretty well dialed in now. We're pretty much happy with where things are at. Lando Norris, though, still a little bit shaky. Like I said, I don't know what we're going to be able to do about the underfloor either on that second car. Might be able to... I mean, it is only minor damage, so surely we should be able to repair that between FP1 and FP2, but not perfect for free practice, but I think we should still be ready for qualifying.
Hello, and thank you for joining us as our race weekend unfolds. Free practice has concluded, and qualifying awaits. Excitement is really picking up here today, the anticipation continuing to grow within the paddock. With free practice now over, drivers will have to know this circuit inside and out if they're to gain a strong position on the grid. 20 cars take to the track, all with aspirations of taking pole. Stay with us as we see who can deliver on motorsport's biggest stage.
Right, well, I think, unfortunately, I've botched Fernando Alonso's first run here, tried to get him out in some clear air, and it really hasn't worked, and that's exactly what I mean there. Bottas getting in the way as we head down in towards the final couple of turns. Ricciardo, though, not a particularly good benchmark by him, as he is 16.8, 28.9, so not perfect by Fernando, but not too far away either. Verstappen back into the threes, and Alonso, yeah, only able to go into P5 there on a 104.7. Lando, though, about, what's that? Just a tiny fraction up in Sector 1. Again, it's just about trying to make sure that we don't get held up by the AI, but of course we will try and use his split times to work out where he is relative to Fernando Alonso as he winds his way down through the end of Sector 2. Hopefully this could be like a mid-28, 28.8. So another 10th found then over Fernando here. I mean, really, we just want to see if he can try and get ahead of Daniel Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas here, as that Ferrari kind of somewhat stays out of the way, rounding through the final couple of turns then with Lando Norris. Can this hopefully be a low 104 then up over the line? It is a low 104, and you know what? He has gone quicker than Valtteri Bottas then, so very happy with that. More competitive than I was genuinely expecting. Final lap then here with Fernando Alonso in Q3. Lando Norris has done the hard work. He's got himself up into provisional P6 at the moment, but will the feisty old Spaniard be able to try and improve on that? Of course, I think the only driver on the current grid that did actually race around the old version of the Austrian GP circuit. I think it was only the once, though, if I'm not mistaken, back in his debut season, as someone else has spun off. It's Valtteri Bottas, and so Alfa Romeo having a nightmare down at Turn 4 all weekend so far. As there we go, 16.7 from Fernando Alonso in Sector 1. That is a fantastic first sector split. And what will Lando Norris be able to do? That again, a 16.7, almost identical come the end of Sector 1. Ricciardo's locked up as well, so all the AI are making mistakes at the moment. So that might mean Lando Norris could be safe into potential P6 there. I mean, the only other one we've got to be careful of is George Russell, who does improve and goes quicker than Lando Norris then. So are we going to see any bigger improvements than Bottas? only stays in P8 then. Alonso down at the end of Sector 2. What time will Lando Norris be able to achieve there? Again, he's down as well, but still looking quicker than his teammate. If we can get Alonso above Ricciardo, that could still be ideal. Then at the final corner, up towards the line, it is P9 when all is said and done. So he does go quicker than Daniel Ricciardo there out of the final corner for Lando Norris. I don't think he's going to be able to improve ahead of Russell, but he will lock himself in then to P7 and does improve again. 2 1,000ths of a second, but improvement is an improvement. And again, we line up 7th and 9th then on the grid.
The time has come for these drivers to fight it out wheel to wheel. Race day has arrived.
McLaren did a decent job during qualifying. This is a solid grid position, and it certainly has the potential to lead to good race results. Although we didn't see a standout performance from Alpine during qualifying, everything's still open to them during this race. And the sky is looking grey and cloudy today. An effective tyre strategy could prove very valuable as the race plays out.
And this is the moment where it all comes together. So prepare for another thrilling race here at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Here we are then, it's Spielberg time here for the Austrian Grand Prix, of course. One of 2 races so far that McLaren have won in this Road to Glory, and the only race that we won last season. Will we see the same thing happen again here? I'm not convinced, but you never know what might happen in the crazy world of F1. Alonso, of course, his strategy last weekend worked out really well, but it looks like it's going to be a lot more of a basic one-stop here today. Actually, what we'll do, though, is we'll put Alonso on the alternate slightly, just to open up some more opportunities for us there. As Charles Leclerc, I think, has picked up a grid penalty, so 6th and 8th then on the grid ready for ourselves. And you know what, we're actually going to underfuel the car slightly as well, just to see if we can try and keep up with some of the front runners there. We've got to try and get Alonso past Bottas, and then we latch on to those Mercs. That is the game plan today.
A somewhat overcast day for the drivers who've now taken position on the grid. And there is Lando Norris. They're in the front half of the pack, so there's plenty of potential for them. And here's Alonso, the team's 2nd driver. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. The teams are ready to go. The crowd are ready, the cars are ready. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go!
Well, good clean start there by both of our drivers. Looks like Norris might be able to get the run on George Russell up towards someone there. No, 2nd phase of the launch was very, very good by the Mercedes then, as actually Alonso, you can see under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo a bit further behind. I forgot immediately that I put him on the harder compound of tyres. So just got to try and make sure that Alonso doesn't lose the places then early on, as he'll try and stick behind his teammate. Nope, he's going to completely lift out of it on lap 1, because of course, why wouldn't you do that at the start of a Grand Prix? There is, look at Ricciardo already trying to move as well a little bit further up. So Alonso then, as we head down the hill, trying to look back around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. Lando Norris under pressure as well, so he's lost the place of Valtteri Bottas at the start of the race, and now we're going to have to immediately try and bring Alonso back in line there. Of course, we don't really want them tripping over each other early on in this GP. But yeah, Lando Norris then not the ideal start I wanted from our #1 driver there. I wonder how much that pains Fernando Alonso to hear Crofty saying that on the intros there. But let's just try and make sure that we keep both drivers together as we head down in towards the final quarter. Then all over the back of Valtteri Bottas, round the outside of Valtteri Bottas. Hello, Lando Norris. What is going on here then? As one of the Mercs as well, George Russell running slowly out of the final corner. You know what? He might make it 2 overtakes as we head back down towards turn 1 there. Up the inside of George Russell, he'll go. And we're going to be drag racing then back up the hill here to kickstart lap 2. So suddenly Lando Norris, from being on the back foot, has made 2 overtakes then as we go side by side still with George Russell. He's going to have the inside line for turn 2. Surely this one is going to be a done deal on the brakes then. Almost having a look up the inside of Hamilton as well. But that has been a perfect little start then in the end. Lando Norris gaining a spot. Fernando Alonso, holding on to his track position as well there. 5th and 8th now early on in this race, and that gives us confidence. Well, DRS then, of course, already enabled in this Grand Prix, but now really we are in the game of trying to just sit in position. Charles Leclerc has had a mega start as well, all the way up to P10 here. As you can see, Gasly just trying to hang on to his coattails in that Alpha Tauri. But yeah, I mean, this is where it's going to really come down to strategy early on here, and where Fernando Alonso's race strategy could come alive later on. Him and Perez seem to be two of the only cars at the front there. I mean, Russell as well on the hard compound of tyres. So we just got to try and work together and see how things pan out then. Of course, try and hang on inside the... Alonso trying to hang on inside the DRS there. What a move that was attempted by Fernando. Didn't quite pull it off there, but clearly the boys still got bravery as Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz battling right at the front of the field. It looks like Sainz has been able to hang on to the lead there as Hamilton now around the outside of Checo, but I don't think he'll be able to break free, so the DRS train is probably going to be the story early on, as Lando Norris just got to be careful. No, that's Fernando Alonso, isn't it? Got to be careful he doesn't lose out on the range to the cars in front, so we'll just go deploy a little bit. Again, they don't want to fall out of that DRS zone. That is going to be critical this afternoon, and it looks like we shouldn't for now. Oh, dearie me. Alonso's gone for a move on George Russell as we head up the hill. Russell is going to try and come back in a miss. Here goes Charles Leclerc, then to the... How have we avoided that? Charles Leclerc, he's had unlucky instances there in the past, but that one was all on him. And he's picked up front wing damage there. He's taken George Russell out of the Grand Prix as well. And that might be Russell well and truly out then of this afternoon's action. Is that going to potentially bring out a safety car into this Grand Prix? No, Russell's been able to keep going as well. So I don't think we'll get a safety car from all this. Is now Lando Norris just behind, watching Hamilton and Perez duke it out. As Alonso now and Ricciardo up into P7 and 8. But Charles Leclerc, I honestly thought he was going to take Fernando out in that. But somehow we have cheated that. There we go. By the time Leclerc and George Russell have dived into the pit lane, then they're a good half a lap behind most of the competitors here, as Lando Norris sitting pretty in P5 there, watching that Red Bull and Mercedes just in front of him. Alonso just going to try and keep him in the coattails of Daniel Ricciardo, but that's worked out fantastically for us. Gasly behind doesn't quite have the pace in the Alpha Tauri, so really our big battle today is with Bottas and Ricciardo, but Alonso should be quick towards the end. And I think Lando Norris, as soon as I say that, has gone and binned it up at turn 4 then. Don't think... oh, Perez has got a penalty. So did he take Lando Norris out? Yes, he has. So it wasn't that Lando Norris just bottled it. Sergio Perez went and had some contact with him, but that has pushed Lando back towards Alonso in this Grand Prix. So we might need some team orders here. I think we got away with it, but yeah, Perez now with a penalty as well. As are we going to see Alonso trying to make a move on Lando Norris as we head back up the hill? Don't really want these two fighting each other as best as possible. Lando Norris will try and defend the inside. No contact, please, lads. Keep it clean, keep it tidy. Number 4 versus number 14. And again, oh, there we go. Lando this time around has picked up the DRS, so he should be able to hang on to that place for now. But really, that's given Bottas a huge opportunity now, up into P4 of this Grand Prix. We got another big incident. Apparently, I think that's an Aston Martin that's ran off the road. They're both Aston Martins apparently have ran off the road. And what is it with Austria on the F1 games and creating crazy races then? So what has happened? Don't say they've just come together. I think they must have. Don't know which one's gone into the back. The 23 there. I think that is Lance Stroll who's gone into the back of Zhou Guanyu. No, sorry, Albon, isn't it? Even. So Albon into the back of Zhou Guanyu there has not done them any favours. There's more penalties. I mean, Perez and Albon now with penalties. And obviously, Charles Leclerc's already picked one up as well. As yeah, we're kind of just sat with Daniel Ricciardo then at the moment. But we've just got to think about the long game and try and now worry about fuel and tyres. Oh, Lando Norris. Big mistake. Come on, get back on the road. Get back on the road, man. What are you doing? He's just sat there. Why? You can see he's locked up into turn 1. You know, there's plenty of runoff there. That's absolutely fine, Lando. Just get on with it. Where is he going to re-emerge then in this Grand Prix? Down in P12. And more pain for Lando Norris then early on this afternoon. This is really not good as, yeah, Alonso, I'm happy for you just to sit back behind Ricciardo for now. Save some fuel.
Increasing lift and coast just a little.
So here we go. He's still going to try and look around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. Alonso doesn't really do holding back. So we got another collision. This time around is Perez. No, who is it? Verstappen? Has Verstappen now binned it in this Grand Prix? I think he has. We're like 20 laps in, as you can see, side by side with Carlos Sainz then. So what has gone on between these two? Oh, contact, and you can see they just met in the middle by the looks of it. Maybe Sainz shouldn't have turned in, but Sainz has hung on to the lead then. Verstappen's now got a penalty as well. as Bottas is going to be almost up into the podium places then of this Grand Prix. To remind you, we're only on lap 16. I thought Verstappen was trying to pit then, as they're still going side by side through the final couple of corners. I mean, this is just mental, and yeah, we're 1/4 of the way in. Well, to be honest, I'm not really sure what Fernando's trying to do at the moment. Then he's still battling it out with Daniel Ricciardo there, as it looks like Lando Norris is now locked in with Oscar Piastri. So we're going to try and use these AI just to save ourselves a little bit of fuel in this GP. But I mean, yeah, there is a really, really good opportunity for Fernando Alonso here to try and pick up a podium, because he, of course, is going to be very, very quick in the second half of this race. But just sit behind him and save fuel, Fernando, please. Don't bother attacking at the moment. Just, I don't get it. Just F1 manager things, I suppose. You can see, yeah, Bottas still up the road trying to battle it out with those Red Bulls. But it should be later on in the afternoon that obviously Fernando's strategy comes on strong, as we're not far away from the pit stops. Carlos Sainz then first of the front runners into the pit lane then, so he's come back out on a set of the hard tyres even. Lando Norris not going to be too far away either, as yeah, now Fernando has been able to save up a lot of the fuel. Lando actually now back inside the top 10 there, trying to close up on Sebastian Vettel in his AlphaTauri, so it isn't GG's for Lando Norris just yet. There is still the opportunity for him to try and still score some good points, but once again it feels like we're going to have all eyes on Fernando Alonso here. But yeah, we'll probably try and get Lando to lap 30 before we pit. 29 then, sorry, end of lap 30. Hamilton into the pit lane then. Perez still staying out there, of course, on his hard compound tyres, but we've done pretty well then on the fuel saving more recently. Got both cars back to roughly where we'd obviously aim for them to be. But where are we going to see Lando Norris re-emerge then? We've got more yellow flags at Sector 2. I can't see anyone going slowly. It's just constant errors around this venue. It just never stops by the looks of it. Sebastian Vettel there having a bit of an issue, so that might help us out long term in this Grand Prix. Looking at that gaggle of cars there, Vettel, Piastri, Stroll and Mick Schumacher all seemingly very, very close, as Lando is probably going to be racing them on pit exit. There goes George Russell and Charles Leclerc. So if we can just latch onto the back of that group, that would be rather nice for us. Let's get on with it then, Lando. Let's try and keep up. It's going to be about another 10 or so laps before Alonso dives in. But he has got his fellow Spaniard now trying to apply some pressure. We've got more incidents. Who's gone off this time round? Don't say Russell and Leclerc have come together again. What is going on in this Grand Prix? We're not even halfway through yet, and it looks like Russell and Charles... Don't say Leclerc's done the same thing twice. I mean, how upset are you going to be if you're George Russell if you've been rear-ended twice there by the same driver in this Grand Prix? And I mean, it's given Lando Norris a couple of extra provisional spots at the moment then, as he's a long way back behind Daniel Ricciardo. But yeah, Perez even still with a penalty to take, and Leclerc with a second penalty this afternoon, and yet another front wing change due. Oh, DRS has been disabled. Got a virtual safety car then in this Grand Prix, so not too sure what that's going to do. Might be able to box Fernando Alonso now then in this... Oh no, he's just come out of pit exit, hasn't he? That's a shame. But Yuki Tsunoda apparently has ran wide there, which has caused that. So good opportunity for us to save some fuel. But yeah, I cannot pit Fernando Alonso by the looks of it, unless this safety car stays out far too long. So Sainz then has opted to pit again in this GP, and yeah, we probably could have then got the jump with Fernando Alonso, couldn't we? So now we've got to try and hope that the virtual safety car stays out even longer. But I honestly was not expecting it to last as long as it has. There we go, virtual safety car now ending soon. So we definitely should have pit Fernando Alonso under that VSC, but let's get ready to go green flag racing again. To be honest, I'm not sure he would have made it to the end on a set of the mediums particularly comfortably, so we'll try and stay out a few more laps, wait and see if we get a full safety car, because Alonso is sitting pretty well at the moment, and Alonso's pit by himself in this Grand Prix there, so not really too sure what to make of that. But he is now going and then on to a set of mediums towards the end of this Grand Prix. Hopefully he's going to come out clear ahead of Daniel Ricciardo on pit exit, which it looks like he should. But let's just try and deploy, build up a bit of a gap. And yeah, I mean, Ocon, Bottas is really, the one we're still going to be fighting towards the end of this race with a bit of luck. So still getting warnings about the fuel, but Perez now into the pit lane then on lap 43. So yeah, Alonso is really going to have his work cut out to try and get to the end. We know just how well the hard tyres will go. But the mediums are a very, very different story then, as hopefully we're going to see Ocon into the pit lane. Yes, we are, so less pressure from the Alpine driver, but now Checo's taking his penalty. He's going to re-emerge a little bit further back in this GP. But yeah, Alonso back into 7th then. It might even be 6th place as Perez heading out of pit lane. But we are still in 12th with Lando. Might be able to get back up into the points, which he should. So back into the points for both cars, and with Yuki Tsunoda still to pit, maybe we could try and close up to Ricciardo by the end of this. We'll sit right then with just over 20 laps to go. Still waiting on Pierre Gasly to peel into the pit lane from P3 in this GP. So that should be another freebie for definitely Alonso and hopefully Lando Norris as well. But yeah, Bottas, though, is just using those Red Bulls again to try and stay ahead of the McLaren. So we've just got to try and keep up with these guys and get ready to go for a late race attack. Oh, and there we go. Bottas has done something, so suddenly now we're going to be the one trying to use those Red Bull cars then, as what has happened to Bottas, trying to hang close. Yep, Bottas just ran off the road then, and I don't know why we're watching Alonso, but he's made the place, and that's all that matters. Not too sure what we're going to be able to do against those Red Bulls towards the end of this race, but yeah, we're back up into 5th and 8th then, so pretty much where we were on lap 1. But maybe, just maybe, we can try and hassle those Red Bulls towards the end. Verstappen is on hards, it's just a question of whether our mediums can make it safely. And oh, here we go, Fernando Alonso then trying to make a move on Max Verstappen. He's up into the podium places. Perez has made a mistake as well then. So Fernando Alonso now up into 7th place of the Grand Prix. And I mean, if we can try and pull away from Verstappen here, it would be an absolute miracle towards the end of the race if we were able to. But the Dutchman is on those harder compounded tyres still. I'm not going to say it's impossible in this race. Alonso, he's been very, very quick in all of the Grand Prix he's done so far for the team. But yeah, I mean, trying to pull away from a Red Bull, it might be a tall order there. As, yeah, George Russell, nightmare weekend for him. Charles Leclerc is still in last place with half a front wing for Charles Leclerc, so no wonder he's still in last. Then Ferrari have absolutely messed that up. Just retire his car, please. As Verstappen and myself both, or Fernando Alonso even, both getting around some of the lap cars. As Alonso, new fastest lap of the day. The pace is still real, as Aston Martin there gets in the way. But you know what? We might actually get the range over Max Verstappen. So let's just try and push, and see if it's possible then. 9/10 of a second. We can just get out of the range. Of course, then we can try and go back to saving fuel again. 1 second momentarily. As Verstappen's still got the DRS, yes he has. But you know what? Alonso's giving this a mega go at the moment. 1.1 there, very briefly. Come on, let's try this. So we've got 17 laps to go of this Grand Prix. It goes back down to 9/10 by the end of the DRS. But surely, as we wind our way through the middle sector, through the S's, Alonso, he's going to get that gap up then. We've got more yellow flags out, though. I think that's Bottas, potentially. Yes, it is Bottas with even more issues. So Lando Norris might be able to get another place then in this Grand Prix, and that works out beautifully for us again. Very, very weird Grand Prix here, but you know what? We're going to take it for now. And you know what? Less than 10 laps to go then of this race. Carlos Sainz might still have to pit again from the lead there, so this could end up being a battle for P2 between Alonso and Verstappen. I mean, Alonso at the moment has just got to try and sit back behind the Dutchman and get ready to go for a late race attack. But yeah, Norris now battling it out with Pierre Gasly here later on. Just been trying to save, obviously, the fuel with him. But Ricciardo only a few seconds up the road as Gasly back to the inside again. He will definitely be able to go to the end on those softs, but surely Sainz is going to have to pit before this race is out. And there we go, Carlos Sainz then, 5 laps to go of this GP, is going to head back into the pit lane then. I don't know what their strategy has been today. Is that a 3rd pit stop for Carlos Sainz? It might well be, as Hamilton then into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix with just a handful of laps to go. There goes Alonso and Max Verstappen back down at turn 1. So most cars have 1 stopped here. Ferrari got both cars in the pit lane. Leclerc's had to pit 3 times. And Sainz is going to come out behind Sergio Perez. And that... why is he 3-stopped this race? I will never, ever understand the AI on F1 Manager then. But Alonso's still battling out with Verstappen late on there. Charles Leclerc's going to have to let him by. But Hamilton is only right there. This race isn't over. We might actually be able to win this thing. Oh, I think Alonso's tyres might just be falling off a bit towards the end as Sainz now all over the back of the Spaniard once again. Just going to have to try and take a bit more out of the tyres then. But Verstappen has not given up on this race. He's got up to Lewis Hamilton once again here. So I think, yeah, maybe, just maybe starting to struggle right towards the end there. But the fact we're still within this fight late on in the day is credit to the hard work, not only of Fernando Alonso, but of course also the team back at the factory here. I mean, if something were to happen between Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton at the front of the field, which, I mean, if it was real life, every possibility of that going down, as Norris even battling it out with Pierre Gasly still late on in the day. Hamilton is trying to keep Verstappen at bay. One more lap to go then. Sainz now has found a way around Fernando Alonso as well, though, as someone else is locked up in this Grand Prix. We need to make sure that Norris can try and get a run back on Pierre Gasly as well then as we start the final lap. Magnussen's locked up, but will it be Hamilton or will it be Verstappen then as we start the final lap of the Austrian Grand Prix? It has been crazy right from the get-go. Hamilton to the inside of Verstappen at the top of the hill, where of course the Dutchman made the move on Charles Leclerc all those years ago, and this time round it's going to be the Mercedes that makes the move on the Red Bull there. Hamilton with the DRS as we plunge down back in towards turn 4 then. You can see we've got 4 cars from 4 different teams covered by about 3 seconds here late on in the day. Looks like Norris has been able to complete the move on Pierre Gasly as well, though, so absolutely critical for us late on in the day. But Hamilton, as he winds his way down the hill, just a couple of days ago, he was battling with Sergio Perez for the final podium place at his home race. It might be Mercedes' first win of the season there, but it is absolutely coming down to the wire through the final couple of corners. Hamilton is going to be back on top once again with Mercedes. Verstappen in P2, Carlos Sainz in P3. They're covered by a little over a second between all of them there. Alonso will come through a fantastic P4, and when all is said and done, will Lando Norris be able to try and snooker away fastest lap bonus point right at the very end there behind Perez in P5. Lando Norris up over the line. Has he done it? He might have done it. I don't know, to be completely honest then. Yes, he has. Lando Norris, fastest lap, and he breaks down just after the finish line.
What a flawless weekend here from Fernando Alonso. His team must be proud. McLaren have shown some serious chops here. A good result for the team from Surrey.
Indeed, the team has demonstrated technical skill as well as a great deal of heart. They can be really proud of their efforts this weekend.
And after this result, the team is 4th in the constructor standings.
As we reach mid-season, the battle will pick up again in the Côte d'Azur. Join us in the south of France at the circuit Paul Ricard.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Austrian Grand Prix, and it is Lewis Hamilton who takes home the dub there. 3 tenths clear of Max Verstappen and just 6 tenths ahead of Carlos Sainz there. Fernando Alonso, a fantastic P4, unlucky even I should say, not to get a podium there ahead of Perez and Lando Norris, and it's races like that that prove, both cars within about 15 seconds of the race victory, how we are here to fight in the second half of this campaign there. Gasly beats out both Alpines, so we should get a big jump on them overall in the championship. Bottas, after looking so strong early on there, just could not quite maintain the pace later in the afternoon. A nightmare for both Russell and Charles Leclerc. All of that probably being Charles Leclerc's fault this weekend. I'm sure George will not be happy. Means the gap at the top of the championship back down to just 8 points between Charlie Boy and Max Verstappen there. 1 point behind Sainz and Sergio Perez as well, as Lando Norris trying to keep close to those Mercedes, but it is no easy feat there. Fernando even as well, up another 2 spots. Won't be long, hopefully, before he's ahead of both Alpine cars as well in the championship. And constructors-wise there, Ferrari still lead the way 7 points even ahead of Red Bull now. And I mean, look at that. We were pretty much in the ballpark with those big teams there. Scored more than Ferrari this weekend. We do jump Alpine back into P4 there, but a 105-point gap to Mercedes is still a very tall order. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well. And we will be back very, very soon when Formula 1 returns, ready for the French Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. You guys do not want to miss it. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.